I mean, obviously we did not get the results we wanted. Obviously it was, very exciting for me to be back there in a different role, with Cam. Like I said, my responsibility when you asked philosophy last week was score points and protect the football. Didn't do that. I got to do a better job getting Cam in rhythm, offense in the rhythm, and our guys got to do a better job of just executing the plays when they're there. We had a lot of missed opportunities, a lot of calls I'd like to have back, but learning it. But got to hit it rolling this week, get better, and keep grinding.
What's the other one? And
they did.
Weren't you actually kind of moving at the time?
Yeah, we felt really good about them. I wanted to give a little spark. And that's the way those things are. The first one, obviously, didn't go our way. It was in an area where I thought if it didn't, we still have an opportunity. I could get us on the next down, get us back in field goal range, and have an opportunity for a third down. But yeah, you're going to second guess those things. Sometimes they hit. We'd be having a different conversation right now if both those hit.
What was the
plan? The way we kind of started out the game was quick games, screens, some draws, some things to throw that rush off a little bit, and also get the ball, let Cam see a completion, let him see Calvin catch a ball, get rolling. But yeah, screens it's a highly detailed execution, timing, the accuracy of the throw, the timing, the count of the offensive line. It all works together.
But do you agree with that assessment that some of these are just taking too long to develop? By the time the ball carrier has the ball, they're not.
Yeah, I mean, I just think if you go back and look at it, it's more there's a throw here, there's a certain path. The runner needs to be in a certain spot. So again, it's everybody wants one person's off on a screen, it's not going to work.
how much?
Well, I'll tell you, the first 4 games, he understands now the speed of the NFL football. He understands the rush. He is getting a lot better at that with the timing, and he's got to continue to grow and keep his fundamentals first, and get the ball out on time, the timing, the rhythm, the accuracy. It all goes together with his footwork. It's all tied in with that. There's a time and a place where you got to make a play and you got to get outside the pocket, and he's done a great job doing that. But he's just got to screw in, get the ball out, make an accurate throw. Sometimes they're going to be a little tighter, and just keep the offense going down the field, which he's doing a better job of that. He understands that. Some of the play, that kind of goes together.
So it was when you're trying to get a young guy to hone in on footwork and fundamentals, and they're in a position to have to kind of carry their offense at times. If they're on a team that needs it right now. How do you, as a quarterback coach, hammer that in their head, not to abandon those fundamentals?
You keep coaching hard. You do, and you show it to them on film, and you take that out to Wednesday's practice, Thursday's practice, Friday's practice, and again, that's got to show up in the game.
How receptive is he then when you guys talk through all that?
Great.
Given this,
Set to be aggressive. You got to go in with a plan, and you got to extend, and that's what you spend all going into. There's a time and a place, depending on the game, depending on the situation, where you want to be aggressive. Maybe personnel space, maybe offense, defense, who we have in the game. But, there's a time and a place for that. But I think you kind of go and stick to your game plan.
It really doesn't change my role very much. I was the play caller before, so still not, and which is totally fine. And sorry, go back to the rest of it.
well,
How does it change?
I mean, I think people want more insight into what you do.
What I do? So, I'm in each game plan meeting. I'm in every one with run game, all the past game meetings, everything like that. So, do that, handle all the scripting, kind of organize the offense, install the offense in front of the unit, give the unit meetings. So, there's plenty of work there. I wouldn't say that. I would say that there's certainly plays where we can hit the details, kind of hit them quicker. It's kind of been a little bit of something on each one that's a little bit of a different issue. I think the screen, like we had the screen to Tony on the left sideline, down their sideline, and it's more of a ball placement issue from Cam. And all of a sudden, throw it behind him. Now it looks like it's out of rhythm. So there's other screens and other issues that way where things have popped up, and we just got to be cleaner. Well, he's the personality. We'll start with that. The competitiveness. He is not gun shy in any way, shape, or form. He's not beaten down in any way. Or whatever. For being 0-4, I think you see that, and you see how much he cares and how much he puts into this. That's been good, and he's processing something new every week. So you look and there's play 4 very kind of different defenses, and he's gotten kind of a whole different experience each week of how it's gone. So I think having him go through those, experiences, and then the way he takes and the way he looks back, and he's good on Mondays, and every other day that he comes in of, okay, I saw this. Here's let's keep talking about it, and all those things keep coming up. And so I think we really like where he's going. Yeah, accuracy always comes down to footwork, right? So footwork and timing, right? So if his footwork's on the same way and he's kind of doing it as prescribed, and I think, when you're in the heat of the battle and things start moving fast, and all of a sudden, you start moving faster and your feet move faster than your mind, all of a sudden, those inaccuracies show up. And then I think there's also sometimes he's just trying to force a play. He wants to, that's kind of his superpower. It was his superpower in college, and there's those 1st and 10 on the, interception that you're talking about. And that's a play that if you just scramble or you've kind of settled there and maybe throw right to the guy, those are plays that he looks back at and goes, okay, that's one I missed, and I got to be kind of calmer in that presence. Probably a combination of both. We're running into some advantageous looks, which helps, when we're kind of giving Cam a little bit of the keys to get into some of these runs too, which he's done a nice job of, hey, if you get this look, check into this run. And he's had a few of those, which, those don't show up in quarterback stat sheets, but it really shows up for the offense. And, the run game has been good, and we want to keep, but you always want to be balanced. If we become one-dimensional, then all of a sudden, that run game will dry up too. So we're looking for the right amount of balance, but really pleased with where the run game's going.
In terms of like a technique flaw.
Yeah, well, let's just call it what it is. There's been no slump. He missed 2 kicks in one game, and he missed a 64-yarder. You could put that on me. And then the 62-yarder would have been good, and that got tipped. So take the 64-yarder out, which I know you can't. He hadn't missed a kick all season until this game. So I wouldn't even call it a slump. I say, it was a technique miss on both of the kicks against Houston. He's physically fantastic, mentally fantastic. He missed 2 kicks in a game, but by no means is it a slump because he's been outstanding, up until the 2 kicks. He got to make, and he'll make those, and I have full confidence that it's a blip, it's not a yip, and he'll bounce back for sure. I'm not saying, I can't say it all that other people aren't. It's a good question, a tough question. I think I've tried to wrap our arms around the young guys, the rookies. We've talked about it before. We got a lot of new rookies that I think have been fantastic contributors. I can't speak on anything that happened here last year because I wasn't here, offense, defense, or special teams. So I've looked at this group and this opportunity as a fresh one, a new one. And I've tried to keep the schematic very simple, the competition and technique very high. And I think as the season goes, I think we're going to get better and better on special teams. Whatever we've been the first 4 weeks, people can think what they want, but I feel like we're going to get a lot better. The Houston game, from a coach's, if I can kind of go into it a little bit, from a coach's copy, Houston's got a very good special teams unit, very good special teams coach. So for us just to basically kind of go toe-to-toe, it was like a one-on-one game for us on special teams, almost for performance and for production, but almost for evaluation. I hate to say it, even during the course of a game, like, let's put our young guys out there and go compete against this really good special teams unit one-on-one and see what we got. And so sometimes that's been the goal a little bit too, is get our guys out there and fight one-on-ones and teach them what it looks like and teach them how to do it together. And I think maybe as a team for the Titans, one thing we can continue to work on and preach is a complementary football. How does a defensive 3-and-out or a takeaway get turned into points by the offense? And how does a great, kickoff cover, punt cover, turn a drive start from the -10 into a 3-and-out for the defense? And so I think one thing we got to work on as Titans as a team is just the complementary football part of it, and not like how does the special teams perform, offense perform, or defense perform as separate entities, but how do we all perform as like one unit, and how does one side of the ball feed off the other? And I think that's a huge part of pro football is not just the separate entities, but how does each team feed off the other? And if one team's maybe slacking a little bit, one side picks it up. Or if one team capitalizes, then the other face comes in and turns that capital into opportunity. So I know I'm going way too much in a tangent, but football is fascinating in the mold of complementary football. And I think when we get to that part where we can turn a turnover into a touchdown, and a big punt return into a touchdown, and a long drive into a field goal, which gives our defense rest, all those moving parts is going to help us win football games. Sorry for the long answer, but I love talking about that aspect of the game. Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know if I can recall, where a team that's struggled early like we have has practiced this well. I've been on teams that don't practice very good and win a lot of football games. I'm trying to think. I'm not stumped for words. I'm just trying to give you a good answer. But I don't know. I think every team might be unique to its own, successes or failures and what it comes from. But I just feel like if we just keep practicing and we can keep our guys healthy and the guys that aren't healthy, we should get them back, because that's been a part of the deal too. We missed some offensive linemen, which always is a huge part of it. Tajay's been out and some secondary, issues with the injuries. So if all that can get pieced together and we can get back the chemistry on the practice field, because maybe we practice very well, but all the pieces that play on Sunday aren't maybe all the way in as far as physically in practice to be able to work the chemistry aspect of it, And I don't want to speak for anybody else. Like Legarius is coming off the knee, and how many reps can he take in practice that translate to the game? I don't want to use that as an example, but that just might be one. The chemistry part in practice is crucial, and maybe that's still to be desired once we get all the pieces back, JC, and all the pieces that have been missing. So I like to stay in the special teams world, but when special teams practice is done, I'm very tuned in to what's happening, during the offense and defensive part, and encouraging guys with ball security and attacking the football and contested catches and finishing and all that. So I just feel like we're going to get it going. I'm an optimistic guy, but I feel like we're going to get it going.
What are you guys as a coaching staff doing to identify the disconnect between Sunday and the rest of the time? Do you feel like you have a finger on what it is that's disconnected? Are you changing things to try to identify what's disconnected?
Yeah, I think that would be a great question for Coach Callahan, and I'll let him speak on that. But I think in my conversations, like in our coordinator and head coaches meetings, we're always asking ourselves questions. Do we need to do more at practice? Do we need to do less at practice? Do we need to do more situational football, more 2-minute drill? Put the pads on Wednesday, take the pads off on Wednesday. So I think there's always ongoing discussions on what we think it's going to take to win this week. And I think one thing that's been cool about Coach Callahan and our staff is we're willing to adapt, absolutely. It's not like this is the practice schedule, we're sticking with this, win, lose, or draw. I think we're always looking for ways. And I can't maybe be specific, but absolutely we're looking for ways to increase our coaching and playing performance.
How do you get that right?
Yeah, I think it's all of us, collectively as a team and as a defense. We got to finish games out. We played 3 very good quarters. They had 6 points going into the fourth. And one bad thing that happened from the offense, we turn the ball over, we go on the field. We got to rise to those occasions. We got to step up. We got to go out there and put the fire out. And we didn't. We had some miscues. We didn't get off the field, and it kind of steamrolled from there. So we got to learn from that. We got to understand that we got to finish the games. We play extremely well in spurts, but we got to put a whole game together. That was a game that shouldn't have got away from us. It shouldn't have been 26 points at the end of the day. But I think Jeff's just a special player. Right now, he's dominating. He's, like I said, weeks ago, he's a man on a mission. He's playing a run extremely well. He's rushing the pass extremely well. Everybody else, we gotta get caught up. Everybody else has to play, 1% better. We got to be better as a whole. We got to be better as a coaching staff to get the best out of everybody. So, looking back, if it's something we're doing as a coaching staff to kind of take the thinking off and allow the guys to go play to be the best versions of themselves, that's what we got to do. So everybody needs to step up. It's not just one player, it's all of us together. Well, when you look back at this last game, one thing I harped after the game when we were watching it, not a lot of shots on goal. So in order to get takeaways, you got to have population to the ball, and you have to search for the ball. So they ran the ball was loose, they caught the ball. We need to attack the ball as we're tackling, and we got to get back to that. In terms of the takeaways and interceptions and things, that happens. tips and overthrows. We got to start to tip the ball a little bit more at the line of scrimmage. But when they run the ball, we got to hammer the ball. We got to be intentional with trying to get the ball off of people. And we didn't do that last week. So we got to get back to that. Yeah, I think we did. I mean, we affected the quarterback. We hit him, especially we hit him early. Guys rushed extremely well. We pressured in spots to get some guys, free. So I think they did that. We had some subtle adjustments of where guys are lining up on the front four, and I think it benefited from us, benefit from moving guys to different spots. So we gotta keep getting better at rushing. I think it was a game where they had some confidence. They built some confidence, and I'd like to see it transfer to this week.
Did you feel like you learned some things from those adjustments that you can implement going forward about your guys?
Yeah, I think I did. Just knowing guys' best spots right now, where they're most comfortable. And then, we did a lot of things to set up guys to get free from pre-snap disguises, looks, and those natures. So we'll continue to do that. To me, it's like this. It's for all the players. We got to understand situational football, right? We got them backed up. It's 2nd and 33. I made a call. It was a call to keep a roof on top of the defense. And he went and pressed. And then, even from pressing, he should have been outside leverage regardless, whether he was off or on. But he just has to have better awareness of the situation. And if I have to put a call to make them get off, I have to do that. Also, what you don't notice, the safety also left from the hash. We supposed to have been zoning a quarter playing cover 4. And once the safety pushed to the hash, the quarterback, it was one step and the ball was up. So it's not just LJ. He has to understand the situation, but we have to execute the details of the defense and the coverage to take the quarterback off of the X. You have so many different players and so many things. So many players require certain things. It's like you have to play to the strength of your guys. And we take example of LJ, and I'm just using him as an example because we just talked about him. I got to put him in positions to do what he does well. If I'm asking them to do too much and they're not producing, it's my fault. So yeah, sometimes my dad used to always say, "Kiss, keep it simple, stupid," and you play faster. So we're going back to just playing basic fundamental football, keeping a roof over it, playing without leverage. We got to get back to stable tackling. I just looking at the games is kind of made me furious a little bit. And you look at the games that we've had, the first 2 quarters of football games, we've tackled extremely well. I think we've probably missed a total of 3 tackles in the first 2 quarters of every football game. But somewhere within that 3rd quarter and 4th quarter, it kind of goes away. So is it the focus? Is it the attention to detail? Because it's not an effort thing. They run to the ball. We have to tackle better in the second half because in this game, the explosive plays and the hidden yardage from missed tackles hurt you. And that's our focus. And when we focus on that, the other thing is going to go away. And like I say, from a stat standpoint, I don't like where we are, but I'm not worried about the stats. I know this defense. I know these young men that we have. I know these coaches that we have. I know this defense can get a lot better, and it's going to happen. I think it's the consistency from each guy. You know what I mean? It's like we got to take ownership of it as coaches as well, but players got to take ownership with it, staying focused and being in the moment. Sometimes you let one bad thing or something take you out of the moment. We got to live in that moment. We got to have a narrow vision of where we're going, have blinders on, and just one play, one rep, one snap, 1 quarter, the 2nd quarter. We got to stay focused on where we at and not get too far ahead or let the ups and downs or the ebb and flows of the game distract what we're trying to do. And, the guys see it. They understand it. They understand that this is a game of momentum. It's a game of swings. It's not going to be perfect. But we got to stay focused on the job at hand within those moments. And as coaches, we got to help too. Like if we're on the sideline, we have to communicate with them. Hey, anticipate this happening because they're doing this. We all have to stay as one, stay connected, throughout the course of the game to be able to stay in that narrow focus that we can go win a game and pull it out.